Good morning. I'm Councillor Linda Curran, Vice Chair of the Licensing Committee, chairing this meeting today, and I would like to welcome you all to today's Licensing Subcommittee meeting. This is not a public meeting, but a meeting where the public can attend. Before we commence, I'd like to outline the domestic arrangements for the meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice today. If the alarm sounds, please leave the building by the way of the fire exit through the doors at the rear of the chamber on my right. When you have left the chamber, proceed down the stairway, exit through the emergency exit on the ground floor. If there is anyone with mobility issues, please wait in the refuge area at the top of the stairs, where the emergency evacuation lift is located, and use the intercom situated on the left-hand side of the lift to call for assistance. The assembly point is in the public square in front of CAST beyond the fountain. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode. Thank you. I will now commence the meeting. Are there any apologies for absence?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Exclusion. There is no exempt items on the agenda today. However, please note that when the subcommittee goes into deliberation to determine the decision, all public and press will be excluded from the meeting and they will be brought back into the meeting to hear the subcommittee's decision. Are there any declarations of interest? Thank you. Application for a variation of an existing premises licence, Morrison's Daily, High Street, Barnby-Dun, Doncaster, DN3 1DY. We are here today to discuss the application for a variation of an existing premises licence for Morrison's Daily, High Street, Doncaster. All parties who have indicated that they wish to address the subcommittee will be given the opportunity to speak. The procedure will be as the following, as set out in the report. Has everyone seen a copy? Has everyone had a copy? Can I introduce the licensing officer representative to introduce this item?
Chair, I'm really sorry to interrupt. I think it might be helpful just to do some introductions because the applicant objectors don't have names, so I think for everyone's benefit it might be helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll go along here first.
Yes, good morning. Councillor Martin Greenhouse, Tickhill and Wadworth Ward.
Councillor Linda Curran.
Councillor Beth Chapman, Mexborough Ward.
Councillor John Healy, Bowlby South Ward.
Councillor Emma Muddyman-Rawlins, the Wheatley Hills Intake and Clay Lane Ward.
Hayley Oxley, Senior Licensing Practitioner. Alicia Murray, Team Leader Development Management in the Planning Service.
Good morning, Fiona Boothroyd. I'm a Senior Environmental Health Officer with covering this area.
Jeeva Subramaniam, Morrison's Daily, Barnby-Dun.
Good morning, Robert Buckeye, Solicitor for the applicant.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Amber Torrington, Governance Officer, taking the minutes.
Mary-Claire Churchman, Senior Legal Officer, advising the committee should they require any legal advice.
David Ballum, Senior Legal Officer at City of Doncaster Council.
Morgan Lyons, Trainee Solicitor at City of Doncaster Council.
Thank you for that. I was getting a bit carried away, wasn't I? Can I now invite the licensing officer representing to introduce the item? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This hearing is to determine an application to vary an existing premise licence for Morrison's Daily, High Street in Barnby-Dun. The premises concerned is currently an off licence. The application is for a variation to an existing premise licence to extend the hours of alcohol to 24 hours daily, permit late night refreshment between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. daily, and to replace the existing conditions with new. Granting of this licence does not relieve the applicant of the need to ensure that the appropriate planning permission is in place. Furthermore, there are circumstances when, as a condition of planning permission, a terminal hour has been set for the use of the premises for commercial purposes. Where these hours are different to the licensing hours, the licence holder must observe the earlier closing time. Premises that operate in breach of their planning permission are liable to prosecution under planning law. I can confirm that the application has been correctly advertised and that the mandatory consultation has taken place. I can confirm that all the required notices of the hearing have been given and all parties have been made aware of the procedure to be followed at the hearing, both in the notes that accompany the notice of hearing and in the hearing papers. The options available to the committee when making its determination are detailed in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now ask the applicant or the representative to address the subcommittee. Whoever is speaking, please identify yourself when speaking. Would you like to address the subcommittee?
Thank you. Yes, it's Robert Botkai. I'm solicitor for the applicant. Thank you for hearing us today. A little bit of background about the applicant. Jiva is here. He runs the store, but the store is now owned by the Sami group of companies who own some 78, I think it's 80 stores now around England and Wales. They recently acquired 16 co-op stores. Those co-op stores, my understanding is that they were due to close. They had been identified by the co-op as underperforming and they were going to close. And our client stepped in because he believes that he can make them work. So this is one of those 16 stores. So if you're familiar with the store, it's really well fitted out. It's a really good community store at Barnby Dun. Most of the Sami Group stores are operating 24 hours a day. The idea is that the shop doors are generally open during the day. At night, it's generally up to the cashier if they feel safe and comfortable to do so. They can have the shop door open, but generally they would have the shop door closed. They can then be preparing the shop for the morning, filling the shelves, and preparing for the morning trade. And if there is custom during the night, they can operate through the night pay window. These stores operate without nuisance to neighbours. What I would say, there's a few things I needed to say, and I'll repeat this again, but most of these stores that Sami have acquired from the co-op have required 24-hour variations. And at each of those, and in fact many of the Sami stores where we've gone for 24 hours, we've had objections from local residents who fear that if this store is open 24 hours and is selling alcohol, it's going to become a hub. Youth are going to gather. There's going to be noise issues, light issues, traffic, doors banging. All of these things have been raised in a number of applications. And at every one of the hearings that I've attended, I've made a point. Normally we have residents attending, and I always make the point of saying, look, we don't believe that that's actually what's going to happen. There's no evidence of it happening at the moment, and we don't believe that if we're operating during the night, you're going to experience those issues. But if you do, then please contact us, and if we don't do anything about it, then you have the power to come back to the licensing to review the license, in which case most of these are local stores. We will be the only store open during the night. It would be a, dare I say, a slam dunk review, in that you would be able to restrict the hours on a review where residents come and say, well, this has happened on this day, this has happened on that day, based on actual evidence. And I'm really pleased to say that none of the Sami stores have been subject to a review application anywhere. So that's of the 80 stores, and so far none of the co-op stores that we acquired in February have attracted complaints from residents who attended the hearing. So we understand that there are fears, there are concerns, and they are legitimate. We understand those, but we don't actually believe that the operation of the store is going to cause the issues that residents fear. Now here we've also got the planning issue, if I can call it that, in that there is a planning restriction. When Sami acquired, and I wasn't involved in the acquisition process, but when they acquired the store, they weren't aware of the planning restriction, and they did open for a short while, 24 hours a day. It was brought to their attention, and they immediately then changed their hours, and an application will be submitted to vary the planning hours. Jiva, who operates the store, and Sami are perfectly aware that if you grant the licence today for 24 hours as sought, they can't operate it until they sort out the planning. So it's the lesser of the hours that have to be complied with, and the company is perfectly aware of that. The relationship between licensing and planning is an odd one. They are different processes. So if there are concerns about light or traffic or parking, which there shouldn't be here anyway, then those are planning issues. And so I don't know whether planning will be granted or not. And I think you'll probably hear from your planning officer that there were concerns when the premises were converted from pub to supermarket. And again, I would expect it's quite normal that people have concerns. They like their local pub, and when the pub converts to supermarket, there are concerns about those changes. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were objections at that stage. So the planning process needs to be allowed to go through. So we are asking you today to grant the variation on the basis that we know perfectly well that we can't operate those longer hours until planning is sorted out. But you will have the benefit of a better operating schedule because we've put a more robust operating schedule in as part of the application. The application is in two parts. You've got late night refreshment and then the sale of alcohol. Late night refreshment is often misunderstood by neighbours. Again, understandably, all we put on is a blue notice on the store, and it says we want to provide late night refreshment between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. All of a sudden, people think we're going to be a late night takeaway, and all of the issues that may come from that. Very far from that. We have a coffee machine. There is some hot food, but most unlikely to provide hot food during the night. But there could be people who come by and wish to purchase a cup of coffee, in which case the cashier goes to the coffee machine, gets the coffee, and hands it through the night pay window. Bizarrely, there is an exemption in the Licensing Act that nobody uses, that vending machines are actually exempt, but only if a customer puts money into the vending machine, takes the coffee away, and has no involvement with the cashier. It's very rare that exemption works. I don't know who drafted it. That was in 2005. Here, there would be an engagement with the store because they would have to pay the cashier for the cup of coffee. So we would need the late night refreshment license in order to provide coffee during the night, and I cannot imagine that is going to be a disturbance to anyone. The hot food would be very, very limited, and if you're really concerned about hot food, we could always put a condition on saying no hot food between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. if you believe that all of a sudden it's going to be treated as a late night takeaway, which is not our intention at all. So that's a late night refreshment. The alcohol, we don't believe that the provision of alcohol, in addition to other services that we operate, will cause any difficulties in the area. There's no evidence in the papers today to suggest that it will. The police are not objecting to the application, and the police are your experts on crime and disorder. So they're not sitting on the fence. They've considered the application, and there's no objection from them. So we would ask that, in the absence of real evidence today, that the supply of alcohol during the night is likely to add to crime and disorder, or create public nuisance, impact on public safety, or put children in harm in some way. If there's real evidence, then I've not seen that in the papers yet today, but in the absence of that real evidence, we would ask you to be granting the application, with the caveat, we know perfectly well that we've got to comply with planning. It doesn't need a condition to state that, because it's just duplicating what the law says in any event. So it may feel a bit strange, the application, because we're not going to leave here today and suddenly start trading the hours, but it's very common for licenses to have slightly different hours to planning. But as I say, it's the lesser of the 2 hours that that the license holder must comply with. So we've got the Environmental Health Officer, Fiona Boothroyd, who's referred to planning, the planning restriction. We know about that. She says she has evidence of complaints about similar venues, leading her to believe that the associated noise and disturbance caused to a quiet residential area created by people buying late night refreshment alcohol would be significant. That's not evidence. So if Fiona has experience of other locations, that doesn't relate to these premises, and any evidence that forms part of your decision today would need to relate to these premises. And then the planning conditions on lighting, again, that's a planning issue, so we shouldn't be conflating the two application. The planning officer, Andrea, is it Sudes? Sudas, sorry. Again, refers to the planning restriction, which we are aware of. And then we've got the resident, Jill Lowe, says that no one needs a 24-hour shop unless they're at the airport. Well, there are thousands of 24-hour shops around the country, including most of those owned by SAMI. Most of the petrol stations are now 24 hours. I've done hundreds of 24-hour applications for petrol stations, and again, heard all the concerns that residents believe are going to happen if the petrol station is open and selling alcohol 24 hours a day. And it's very rare, actually, for those issues to arise. Ms. Lowe is also concerned that it will encourage antisocial behaviour by young people hanging around at night. There's no evidence that that's happening at the moment, and we don't believe that in this very nice, quiet location that's all of a sudden going to happen. She does mention an issue with youths on bikes, but no detail is given as to what times of day, how often that's happening. And again, the police are your experts on crime and disorder. If the police felt that there was an issue in terms of antisocial behaviour or these youths 24 hours a day, the police would have brought that to your attention. So that's really it from us. If anybody's concerned about deliveries, we don't get deliveries before 7 o'clock in the morning anyway. And it's a question we're often asked: if we're open 24 hours, is that going to change? The answer is no. We still wouldn't have our deliveries before 7 o'clock in the morning. We've got plenty of parking, and we don't believe that the grant of this variation, subject to planning, actually would cause any harm to residents. And we actually believe we will be a facility which will be useful to our neighbours. Very happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now ask the subcommittee members if they wish to ask any questions in relation to the applicant's submission. Any questions?
Yes, please. Good morning. Can I just ask how many staff will be actually working during the night, subject to this land licence being granted?
Yeah, normally at the stores, it would be one member of staff during the night, which is why they have they can have the doors locked and operate through the night pay window, and that's the normal practice. It's very quiet. We don't expect it to be busy. Part of the reason is to ensure that the building is occupied during the night. It's more secure. And it also enables us to get the store ready for opening in the morning. Customers want their newspapers and their milk and everything ready for the busy time of day, which is going to be 7 o'clock onwards.
Okay, thank you. Also, will you be, if you don't get this licence today, would you still open 24 hours a day? Would it make a difference?
Well, we can't without planning.
Sorry, let me rephrase that.
I think I know what you mean.
If you don't get the licence for
but we do get
alcohol, would you still be applying for planning to open 24 hours a day to sell everything else, just not alcohol, during the evening?
That application will be lodged in any event, yes.
Yeah. This bay window, where is it located? How far is it away from the bay window you're discussing? Where you serving window?
I
Yeah,
thought you said
window.
bay window. I thought there is a nice window actually. I did say night pay window. Yeah, the night pay window is at the bay. The night pay window is at the door, so it's cut into the front door of the premises.
It's cutting into the front door of the premises?
Yeah.
Right, and you would think that was safe for your employer behind that, just one door?
Yeah.
Thank you. I will now ask the interested parties if they wish to ask any questions in relation to the applicant subcommittee.
Sorry, I haven't been to one of these before, so I'm not entirely sure about procedure. I would like to ask the applicant if they are intending to serve Just Eat, Uber, delivery, etc., to provide groceries 24/7 as well.
We already have a Just Eat. That depends. Oh. We already have the account with the Just Eat. That depends on the driver availability. Like normally the driver available like a 6 to 10 or like most of the daytime. The rest of the time it's like a closed. We can't have any orders or like no delivery drivers come and do it.
So there's nothing at night?
Nothing at the night time.
Nothing at night time?
Yeah.
There won't be, if you get this licence, there won't be...
No, there won't be night time in the Just Eat or delivery.
Sorry, could I just clarify that? So you would serve Just Eat or delivery drivers coming to collect orders of groceries, but not alcohol.
During the day, no, they can't.
And at night.
No, not at night.
Not at the night.
So you won't accept Just Eat or Uber
There are,
deliveries.
sorry,
at night?
at the moment there are no third-party deliveries, external deliveries at night. That's what Jiva is saying.
Yeah.
So regardless of alcohol, there's no delivery service at night at the moment. It always depends on the availability from the courier companies.
But that's something that could change.
Is there a plan to have late night?
No.
There's no plan. Again, it's up to the committee. If they felt concerned about delivery of alcohol during the night, that's something that could be conditioned.
From my perspective, I'm concerned about the noise of drivers coming and going.
But that's probably a planning, again, that's a planning issue rather than it's rather than just on the alcohol licence.
Okay.
Would you like to address?
For questions?
Yeah.
I'm okay for questions. Thank
So
you.
would it help if there's just a condition saying no deliveries, outbound deliveries during the night time? We would agree that.
Okay.
So
Put 6 to
can we define night time?
Definitely, yes, we could do that.
So 11 p.m. to
I would suggest 10.
10 p.m. to 6
we
a.m.
can restrict the hours like
Yeah.
I will now ask the applicant if they'd like to sum up. Is there no more questions?
Need to, the objectors get to present their case now?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Frankly, so do I, because it gets me happy as well. So I just have a few points to make, and as I had mentioned, this is the first time I've attended a committee like this. I didn't actually realise that you needed to put forward evidence beforehand. I do want to mention the close proximity of the properties to this particular store, and I do have some photographs here, which, if the chair is happy to, I've got several copies that I could distribute if it makes it easier for you to understand what I'm saying. They're just pictures.
Have you got any objection to the committee seeing those?
Of course. May I? So now you have the picture in front of you. You can see the sort of couple of blue dots that are close together. That's actually the store. The closest premises to the store is literally 7 metres away from this store out to the rear. And those to either side are 17 metres and 15.2 metres, 15.28 metres respectively. And the bungalow across from the supermarket is less than 50 metres away. When the planning permission originally was applied for, we were involved in consultation, and one of the issues that came up was light nuisance. So we had the issues about the store opening were twofold. One to do with the noise nuisance from people coming and going from the property, and the other to do with the lights and the signage, some of which have been resolved through the planning process. But part of the resolution was that the lights were all off by 10:15 p.m. So that presumably would not be the case because you would need the car park lit up and you would need the signage on.
Sorry, we are getting a bit confused again between planning and...
Light nuisance?
No, planning and licensing, because we wouldn't be able to open and therefore not have light on if we didn't resolve planning. So we mustn't have a rerun of a planning application here today. So we've said that we have to put a planning application in, and no doubt the lighting issue will be dealt with by experts in the planning process.
Okay, I'm just going through the history of how we got to where we got, and it started with the planning application, but part of the resolution of what was statutory nuisance from light in the first instance was the fact that the lights are off by 10:15 p.m. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, the possibility that the lights will be on 24/7 is now potentially increasing the chance of nuisance to those neighbours that are in close proximity to the property. I have concerns about the traffic coming and going from the property. One of the issues was, of course, delivery drivers, and if you're saying that you're willing to take that out of the equation, then that's great. That's a step forward. And yes, we can deal with the other issues under the licensing process. Under the planning process, and we could address any of these issues under statutory nuisance process. But again, I think that it doesn't make sense from my perspective. If I believe that there is a chance of the increase in public nuisance to this particular quiet residential area that you can see is, farmers' fields across the other side of the canal, paddock across from the property. It's just a very, very quiet area. If there's an increase in public nuisance from noise from people coming and going from the store, and using a night pay window is a solution for the protection of the staff, but it does actually increase the noise nuisance likelihood of it occurring because you find that staff are actually working in the store, they are trying to stock shelves, are not actually observing the fact that customers are coming up, and you get people hammering on the window, hammering on the door, looking for attention.
We don't. This is not evidence. To say that people are hammering on the window and hammering on the door. There's no evidence of this at all.
Sorry, this is my experience from previous stores that are open 24/7.
It would need to be at the store itself.
In fairness to Miss Boothroyd, she's not attended a committee before, but you have the details of her representation, and to go beyond that with any information, you can't really consider that. You consider what's in the representation.
Okay.
Forward with that.
Thank you. So apologies if I am overstepping the bounds. I'm sorry, as I say, it is the first time I've attended one, so I have no idea. So anyway, well, that's my representation is based on the fact that I think we will have an increased traffic going to the store. We'll have a reason for people to gather, a reason for people to be in the car park, and we will have additional lighting causing nuisance and public nuisance to those residents in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else got a question? I would like to give a statement.
Chair, I think it's now questions to be open, and then we'll go to planning.
No questions.
Thank Thank you. I am used to committee situations. I'm a regular at planning committees, so but forgive me if I overstep the mark as well between licensing and planning. I'm here today to just touch on the background of the planning history and to highlight some of the known concerns that planning enforcement and planning have had with the location of the retail unit. Andrea submitted comments in objection. We are a responsible body that we do get consulted on these licensing applications to air our concerns, but we are aware, and the applicant has already acknowledged, that they are going to have to apply to the council, the local planning authority, to vary their approved hours. It was originally granted planning application in permission in September 2019. During that application process, it had significant public interest and was actually determined by a planning committee. Several of the objections...
Chair, this is a licensing committee and it's not relevant to hear about planning objections in the licensing committee.
Like I say, I've only been roped into this 2 days ago, so bear with me. What we're just saying is that we would want to highlight that they need to extend their hours, and during that time there'll be further public consultation, and we would take into account the comments from environmental health and any public representations, and I would highly assume that it'd be before planning committee again to be varied, so there will be that extra control when the application is submitted. It's always better if they're submitted together.
Like we say, it's not a planning, but all what we can suggest to the applicant is that they do apply for planning permission and see what is granted with those.
That's absolutely fine, but that's the reason I was here today, is just to highlight that process needs to be undertaken.
But thank you very much. Thank you. The interest party to address the subcommittee and sum up.
I go last. So has everybody finished? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll start by saying the relationship between planning and licensing is an odd one. But your remit today is based on licensing, and your decision needs to be based on evidence, real evidence that you have in the report and evidence that you've heard today. And I would submit that the only bit of evidence that is possibly relevant to this application is from the local resident who's got a concern about youths on bikes, but no detail is given. Youth do ride bikes, and it can cause a nuisance. But we've got no evidence about times, events, or anything. And unfortunately, she's not here today to expand on that. Just on the planning, there is clearly a history from when the building was changed from a pub to a supermarket. I would assume that the pub was open after 10 o'clock and lit after 10 o'clock at night, and residents must have been concerned about the change from the pub environment to a supermarket. We've seen that before, but a planning application for this store would need to be seen in a fresh light, if I can say that. So really, the concerns that we've heard here about traffic and about light, they are all matters that we dealt with by a planning committee, possibly with expert evidence. It's really difficult to find any evidence here that if planning allows the store to open, then would there be increased crime and disorder? And I appreciate if Fiona's not done this before, but to say there is a chance of public nuisance, that's not the test. So it's not a chance. Is it likely? And even environmental health are not saying it's likely that there'll be public nuisance. She's saying there's a chance that there could be public nuisance. That doesn't satisfy the test. The police are not objecting, importantly, to the premises license extension. You get a good set of new conditions, which we've we've offered. We've also agreed that there'll be no outbound deliveries from the store between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So that deals with the concern about possible courier noise with alcohol. That's it, really. It may feel a bit uncomfortable because we don't have planning, but it sometimes goes that way around. We would need to apply for planning, and then we'd be in a position to trade 24 hours a day. If we don't get planning, we will be restricted by the whatever conditions planning impose. Thank you for listening. If you've got any other conditions or concerns in mind when you retire, if you would allow me, please, the opportunity to readdress you today, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add to your submission? Thank you. Sorry. The members will now deliberate the application, so please take all your things with you. Your coats, your bags. Once we've reached our decision, you will be invited back into the meeting for the committee to present their decision. If you are unable to remain, please indicate now. Thank you. Sorry? Everything with you, everything.